A person's greatness is not measured by what they own, but by how they think. Throughout history, this truth has shaped the lives of countless achievers, people like Thomas Edison, Jack Ma, and Oprah Winfrey, who all began not with wealth, but with an idea. Napoleon Hill once wrote, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But if that is true, why do so many people still struggle? Why do honest, hard-working people remain stuck while others rise higher? Is success really about luck? Or is it about something deeper, something invisible inside our thoughts? Today's story may give you the answer. And if you stay until the end, you might see yourself in your life in a completely new way. Once, in a quiet seaside town, there lived a young fisherman named Leo. Every morning before the sun rose, Leo would take his small wooden boat out to sea. He cast his net with hope and waited for luck to find him. Some days, the sea rewarded him with enough fish to sell and feed his family. Other days, he returned home with empty hands. Leo often sighed. The sea is unfair. It gives others more and me less. He envied the older fishermen and merchants who returned with their boats full. One afternoon, while mending his torn net by the dock, Leo noticed an old merchant loading boxes of fish onto his boat. The crates were filled to the brim, shining silver under the sunlight. Curious, Leo asked, "Sir, how do you always have such a good catch? I've been fishing for years, but I never seem to get as much as you." The old man smiled and said, "I don't wait for luck. I trade for it." "Trade for it?" Leo repeated, puzzled. "Yes," the merchant replied. "When the sea gives me little, I give it something first. I drop food for the fish before I cast my net. When I give, the sea returns it tenfold. That's how exchange works." Leo frowned. "But I'm poor. I can't afford to give anything." The merchant looked at him steadily and said, "Then you will stay poor, not because you lack fish, but because you believe you have nothing to give." Before Leo could say another word, the merchant stepped onto his boat and sailed away, leaving those words echoing in Leo's mind. That night, Leo couldn't sleep. "Give before I receive," he whispered. "But what can I give? I have nothing." He had no gold, no fine bait, only his time and his will. At dawn, he decided to try something different. Instead of complaining, Leo began cleaning the shore. He removed broken glass and bits of trash caught in the rocks. Then, before casting his net, he took small pieces of leftover food and gently dropped them into the water. Looking out toward the horizon, he said quietly, "Thank you, sea, for feeding me." When he pulled up his net, it was heavier than usual. He thought it might just be luck, but the same thing happened the next day and the day after that. Every time he gave something first, the sea seemed to return more. Other fishermen noticed. They saw Leo's catches growing larger and his mood brighter each morning. One of them asked, "What's your secret?" Leo smiled and said, "I stopped asking the sea to give me more. I started giving first." Word spread. Fishermen began to follow his example. They cleaned their boats, respected the waters, and stopped throwing waste into the sea. Slowly, the coast came back to life. The fish returned in greater numbers, and the entire village began to prosper again. Months passed. Leo was no longer just a fisherman. He had become a respected trader, known for his honesty and generosity. People trusted him, not only because of his fish, but because of his integrity. He had learned that wealth was not only measured in money, but also in trust, gratitude, and reputation. One morning, a familiar face appeared on the shore. It was the old merchant. He smiled and said, "I see you've learned to trade with the sea." Leo bowed his head slightly. "You were right, sir. I thought I had nothing to give, but I was wrong. I had effort, care, and gratitude, and they returned to me multiplied." The merchant nodded. "You've discovered what most people never realize. Success begins not in your hands, but in your thoughts." Leo turned to face the open ocean, his eyes calm and steady. In that moment, he understood something profound. He had never been just a fisherman waiting for luck. He had been a creator all along. shaping his destiny through what he chose to give to the world. If you want more in life, start by offering more kindness, more effort, more ideas. Every act of giving plants a seed that will one day return to you, often in ways you never expect. When you shift your focus from scarcity to contribution, life itself begins to change. You attract new opportunities, new people, and new blessings. Believe in your power to create, not just to receive, because every fortune begins in the mind. And the moment you start thinking like a giver instead of a taker, the world opens its arms to you. If this story inspired you, share it with someone who needs a reminder of hope. And remember, true success always begins inside your mind. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe to The Growth Valley. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories and lessons to life every week.